Here's a recap of the Saw movies in chronological order.
Jigsaw. In the movie Jigsaw, detectives Brad Halloran and Keith Hunt pursue a man named Edgar Munson, who claims that he must play a deadly game for survival but is shot down. 5 people awaken in a barn facing gruesome tests like sacrificing blood to avoid buzzsaws. One of them is Carly, whose test results in her unaliving. Another guy, Ryan, has to sever his leg to save others. Halloran and Hunt investigate, suspecting pathologists Logan and Eleanor. Mitch, another one of the group members, is unalived in a motorcycle test. Munson is found dead in John Kramer's grave. Eleanor and Logan suspect Halloran to be the new Jigsaw killer. In the barn, 2 others, Anna and Ryan, face their dark past. In the end, Logan reveals his revenge plot. He recreates Jigsaw's games, framing Halloran, and takes him out. Logan was spared by Jigsaw years ago and became his apprentice. He exposes Halloran's sins and ends him with a collar.
Saw.
Starts off in this dirty-looking bathroom. Adam, a photographer, and Dr. Lawrence Gordon, an oncologist, are both chained up, each of them by their ankle. There's also a body of a self-unaliving victim holding a pew-pew and a cassette recorder. They each have a tape in their pocket and play them. Adam's tape tells him to survive. Gordon's tape tells him that he has to unalive Adam by 6 o'clock or his wife Allison and daughter Diana will be unalived. Adam finds a bag containing 2 hacksaws inside the toilet, and both he and Gordon, the doctor, try to saw through their chains until Gordon realizes that they're actually supposed to saw through their ankles to free themselves. He now knows that the Jigsaw killer, a serial unaliver that tests victims' will to survive through these sick, lethal games, is the one who has put them there. Gordon knows about this Jigsaw because he was once a suspect for Jigsaw's crime. Going back 5 months, Gordon, talking to patient John Kramer about his terminal brain cancer, is questioned by detectives David Tapp and Stephen Singh. Gordon's pen light had been found at one of the crime scenes, but he had an alibi that cleared him. He views the testimony of Amanda Young, an addict and the only known survivor of one of Jigsaw's traps, where she talks about having to access the insides of a man to dig out a key to free herself. Using a videotape of Amanda's game, Tapp and Singh find Jigsaw's warehouse and capture Jigsaw, but he injures Tapp and gets away. Singh goes after him and is unalived when he accidentally triggers a pew-pew trap. Back in the present, Allison and Diana are being held in their apartment as their captor watches Adam and Gordon through a hidden camera. Tapp, who's obsessed with the Jigsaw case, still thinking that Gordon is the unaliver, is also watching the house. Gordon finds a box containing 2 cigarettes, a lighter, and a one-way cell phone. We see how Gordon is abducted in a parking lot by a pig mask figure. Adam recalls his own abduction when he returned home to find a puppet in his dark room where he stored photos of Gordon. Allison, Gordon's wife, while being threatened, calls him and warns him not to believe Adam. Adam tells Gordon that Tapp paid him to spy on him and that he knows of Gordon's affair with one of his med students. Gordon now thinks that he's being tested by Jigsaw because of this affair. Adam finds a photo of Allison and Diana's captor, and Gordon recognizes him as Zepp Hindle, a hospital orderly. 6 o'clock comes around. Zepp sees that Gordon has still not unalived Adam, so he goes to unalive Allison and Diana, but Allison fights back. Tapp, seeing the commotion, saves Allison and Diana. He chases Zepp into the sewers, but is hit in the chest after a struggle with Zepp. Gordon, hearing gunshots and screaming, thinking his wife and daughter have been unalived more than likely, is shocked and loses reach of the cell phone. He totally loses it, saws off his foot, and pew-pews Adam with a corpse's weapon. Zepp enters the bathroom to unalive Gordon, but Adam, who survived, takes him out with a toilet tank lid. Gordon crawls out of the bathroom to try to find help while Adam searches Zepp's body for a key. He finds another tape, and it turns out that Zepp was just another victim of Jigsaw and how to follow his orders so that he can get an antidote for a slow-acting poison in his body. Then the corpse in the room rises, and we see that it's John Kramer, the real Jigsaw killer. He tells Adam that the key to his ankle chain is in the bathtub, but it went down the drain earlier in the movie. Adam tries to take him out with Zepp's weapon, but John shocks him through his chain and leaves him in the sealed bathroom.
Saw X, Saw 10.
The beginning of the movie, John's being told about his cancer and that he only has months to live. Before leaving the hospital, he sees this hospital worker stealing from a patient. Then it cuts to that worker in the trap where he's either going to get his sticky fingers all broken or get his eyeball sucked out. It cuts back to John, who has only imagined all of this, and the worker puts back what he was stealing, and John's all like, yeah, good choice. Later on, John's out somewhere and he sees Henry Kessler, a guy that he met at his cancer support group. And Henry's looking good. He's looking healthy. He tells him he's been cured by this miracle worker, Dr. Cecilia Peterson, through her revolutionary Norwegian cancer treatment, and he's going to hook him up with the info. John researches and contacts Dr. Peterson, and they set everything up for him to get treated at her clinic in Mexico City. Once there, Diego, a cab driver sent by the doctor, takes John to this clinic, but there's this whole dramatic thing first with these masked guys holding up the cab and taking John there because this whole operation must be secretive since Big Pharma is always on their trail jail trying to stop them from saving people. He meets Cecilia, the doctor, and her dream team, Mateo, Valentina, Dr. Cortez, and Gabriela, a patient who is eternally thankful to Cecilia for curing her. He even meets a fellow patient named Parker Sears, who's getting a follow-up after his procedure. John also bonds with a little boy named Carlos, and he fixes his bike. John's operation's a success. Cecilia tells him that now all he has to do is heal and concentrate on living his new life and getting better. John is thankful, goes to buy Gabriela a gift because she was so kind to him. But when he goes back to the clinic to look for her, everyone and everything is gone. The whole thing was a scam. These people done effed up and are about to find out, and he's starting with Diego the cabbie. Diego dimes out Cecilia and company and manages to survive his trap by cutting through his flesh to remove the explosives wired to his arms. Dr. Peterson, Valentina, Mateo, and Gabriela are all kidnapped by Amanda Young, Jigsaw's faithful apprentice, and now the fun begins. Valentina has to detach her leg with a Gigli saw, but is too late and loses her head. Cecilia manages to get to phone by using Valentina's intestines as a rope to reach it and calls for help. Mateo has to drill into his skull to get to his brain, but is too late and gets unalived when a heated mask closes in on his face. Gabriela has to take a sledgehammer to her limbs to escape this deadly radiation contraption thingy, which she manages to do. John tells Amanda to take her to the hospital, but Parker Sears, the patient dude that John met earlier, messes him up when he holds John and Amanda up at gunpoint. He had showed up earlier when all this stuff was happening, demanding his money back from the doctor, but it turns out he was in cahoots with her the whole entire time. And now they have to release her. Cecilia ends Gabriela and forces John to chain himself in her trap along with Carlos, who is a child, in the wrong place at the wrong time and happened to be outside playing with his ball. They're stuck in this seesaw trap that waterboards them, but with blood. Carlos is a little badass though and helps keep John alive while they're stuck and taking turns being waterboarded. When Parker and Cecilia leave to get the bag of stolen cash from John's control room, they set off a tripwire and get trapped in the room because John Kramer is always a step ahead because he's a genius badass. You see, Diego had filled him in on this whole Parker, Cecilia, and Cahoot situation earlier, and John knew this heifer would call Parker, so he set it all up, and now they're stuck in a room with a deadly chemical gas that will end them. Well, only one of them, because John has left a ventilation hole large enough for one of their heads. Cecilia takes out Parker to save herself, but is still trapped in that room forever, and can only watch John, Amanda, and Carlos leave. Oh, and John gives Carlos the money. The post-credit scene shows Henry Kessler in this old grungy bathroom with a new trap strapped to his stomach, courtesy of John Kramer and Mark Hoffman. In Saw 2, Detective Eric Matthews and his team apprehend the Jigsaw killer, John Kramer, after discovering a gruesome trap involving Michael, a police informant. Jigsaw reveals that 8 people, including Matthew's son Daniel, are trapped in a house with a deadly nerve agent. Jigsaw's twisted motive is to make them appreciate life, and this all comes from his own near-death experience. The group must find antidotes hidden in the house. They ignore the warnings, some of them meet gruesome fates, and we find out that they all have criminal backgrounds except for Daniel. During Matthew's test, Jigsaw exposes the fact that he's a dirty cop, connecting the group to him. Clues from the victims lead to a safe combination. Amanda, Jigsaw's prior victim from the first movie, who's among that group, and Daniel discover a way out, but Xavier, a not-so-awesome member of the group, attacks them. In self-defense, Daniel takes out Xavier. Matthew forces Jigsaw to lead him to the house, not knowing that the game already happened days ago. Inside, Daniel is safe but bound with an oxygen mask. In a shocking twist, Amanda reveals herself as Jigsaw's accomplice and leaves Matthews to face his fate as Jigsaw grins outside. In Saw 3, Detective Eric Matthews escapes a bathroom trap from the previous film by breaking his foot. Months later, Officer Riggs' SWAT team discovers a Jigsaw game where a victim named Troy had to remove chains from his body to avoid a bomb. Detective Carey from the Saw 2 movie notes that Jigsaw's rules have changed. She's abducted and killed in a failed trap. Dr. Lynn Denlin is abducted to save Jigsaw. Now bedridden, Amanda attaches a collar with shotgun shells to Lynn, connected to Jigsaw's heart rate. She has to keep him alive long enough for Jeff, a grieving father who is consumed with vengeance, to complete a series of tests to confront those involved in his son's death in a drunk driving incident. Jeff's challenges involve saving those people. He fails to save some, like Danica and Judge Halden. Lynn performs surgery on Jigsaw. Amanda Lynn, and Jeff arrives, revealing that he's Lynn's husband. Amanda is shot, and Jigsaw offers Jeff a final choice: forgiveness or revenge. Jeff chooses revenge and takes out Jigsaw. Before dying, Jigsaw reveals Jeff's daughter is captured, setting up another test. In Saw 4, Detective Mark Hoffman discovers a tape in the Jigsaw killer's stomach, signaling that the games continue. A man named Trevor and lawyer Art find themselves in a deadly trap in a mausoleum, forced to make gruesome choices. Detective Allison Carey's remains are found, suggesting a new Jigsaw apprentice. Officer Daniel Rigg is kidnapped and forced into a series of tests. As he tries to save lives, he learns more about his targets and the people that he's been trying to help. Meanwhile, FBI agents Peter Strahm and Lindsay Bettis investigate, suspecting another apprentice. They interrogate Jill Tuck, Jigsaw's ex-wife, to uncover his backstory. Rigg's tests lead him to confront criminals defended by Art, who is Jill's lawyer. Strahm and Bettis race to solve the puzzle and end up at the Gideon Meat Factory. In a tense showdown, Rigg's choices prove fatal, and Strahm accidentally kills Jeff Denlon from the previous Saw film. Hoffman, another Jigsaw apprentice, emerges, trapping Strahm and Rigg. The twisted game continues, leaving Strahm bewildered and trapped as Rigg's life hangs in the balance. In Saw 5, convicted unaliver Seth Baxter faces a gruesome trap where he must crush his hands to escape a pendulum blade, but it still bisects him. FBI agent Peter Strahm from the Saw 4 movie escapes the room but is caught by a pig-masked figure and stuck in a water-filled box trap. Hoffman delivers Corbett, Jeff's kidnapped daughter, to the police, claiming that they're the sole survivors. Strahm, however, also survives the trap, and Hoffman's like, Hoffman is promoted but receives a mysterious note saying, "I know who you are," and learns of Agent Bettis' death. Strahm, on medical leave, investigates Hoffman because Agent Bettis' last words were, Hoffman. He looks into past Jigsaw victims' cases. In a sewer trap, 5 people must work together to survive by going against their instincts. The third room reveals a dark connection. They were involved in a deadly building fire. Strahm uncovers Hoffman's dark past and how he got involved with Jigsaw and confronts him. Hoffman traps Strahm in a deadly room, framing him as Jigsaw's successor. Strahm tries to escape but fails, and that's the end of him. Hoffman's sinister role in Jigsaw's games becomes clearer as he eliminates those who threaten to expose him.
Saw 6.
Predatory lenders Eddie and Simone face a deadly trap where they have to cut their flesh to survive. Simone sacrifices her arm to tip the scale, and this is seen by Hoffman, who escapes from the deadly trap that took out FBI agent Peter Strahm. He frames Strahm by using his severed hand. The investigation involves FBI agent Dan Erickson and agent Lindsay Bettis, who survived and kept it secret. Eddie's autopsy reveals a connection to a past victim, Seth Baxter, prompting a reopening of the case. Hoffman demands envelopes from Jill Tuck, revealing a new game involving health insurance executive William Easton and his associates. Tests force William to make grim choices witnessed by onlookers Tara, Brent, and Pamela. As Hoffman's sinister actions escalate, Strahm's abnormalities raise suspicions. Hoffman kills Erickson Perez and a technician and faces a trap set by Jill, fulfilling John's wish after dying to test him. William's game ends with a deadly choice, and Tara decides his fate. As Hoffman escapes Jill's trap, Strahm's investigation closes in, resulting in a gruesome end. Saw 3D movie recap. In Saw 3D, we see that Dr. Lawrence Gordon survives the deadly trap from the first Saw movie by sawing off his foot to escape and then cauterizing the wound. Later, a new game unfolds where 2 men, Brad and Ryan, must use power saws to save their mutual lover, Dina. Realizing that she's betrayed and manipulated them, they let Dina get taken out in a gruesome way. Meanwhile, Jill Tuck seeks protection from Detective Matt Gibson after witnessing Mark Hoffman's escape. Hoffman abducts these hate group people and Bobby Dagan, a fake survivor of Jigsaw's traps. Bobby's tests lead to the demise of his associates. Gibson discovers Bobby's location but is unalived. Hoffman infiltrates the police station, taking out everyone. In his final test, Bobby fails to save his wife Joyce, who is incinerated. Hoffman takes out Jill and tries to escape but is captured by Dr. Gordon, Jigsaw's apprentice, who shackles him in the infamous bathroom. Spiral from the Book of Saw. In Spiral from the Book of Saw, Detective Marv Boswick is killed in a Jigsaw-style trap involving a subway train. Detective Zeke Banks is assigned a new partner, William Shank. They investigate, and Banks recognizes it as a work of the deceased Jigsaw killer. Officer Fitch, another detective who has some history with Banks, is also unalived in a gruesome trap. More traps occur, and the police suspect that Banks may be involved because of his bad history with Fitch. His partner, Shank's skin, is found, and the police are led to a butcher shop. Marcus Banks, Zeke's father and retired police chief, is abducted, and Captain Garza is killed in another trap. Zeke is captured, escapes, and discovers that Shank is a copycat killer. Shank reveals that Marcus was corrupt during his time as a police chief, as he covered for another police officer who unalived his father to keep him from testifying against a dirty cop. In a final test, Zeke saves his father but accidentally causes his death when the SWAT team mistakes Marcus for the shooter. Shank escapes, and Zeke is left devastated by the tragic events.